Larry had figured out that Jake would meet up with his coworkers at the restaurant's bar shortly after spotting them in the crowd. Jake's colleagues were leaving early tomorrow, but as the company's leader, he'd stay an extra 2 days to handle business matters. Larry observed Jake closely. Jake was an attractive guy, and he had already drawn the interest of a few women at the bar. Jake was about a decade younger than Larry, who had recently turned 50. Larry was a little over 6 feet tall and had a fit and sporty look, even though he didn't really work out. Larry understood why his wife, Angelina, was attracted to Jake, and why her work trips aligned with his. Larry had uncovered his wife's affair, and after finishing his soft drink, he headed over to a table in the bar. He looked at the guys and said, "Hey Jake, I'm Larry, Angelina's husband. I hope we can chat in private." Jake seemed initially puzzled, sporting a smile but showing deep concern in his eyes. He replied nervously, "Larry, Angelina's husband. Nice to meet you. What brings you to this small town? I came here to have a private conversation with you. I'm here with my coworkers and we're having dinner. They're leaving tomorrow morning. Can we meet up another time in our hometown?" Larry scanned the room. The place was only half full, and by pointing to an empty booth in the back, I suggested that all I needed was 5 minutes. Larry said, "I'll take that booth," and Jake followed him, looking visibly upset. As they sat down in the booth at a table, Larry asked, "I can't figure out why you came all this way to talk to me. It would have been so much simpler to just give me a call." "It definitely would have been easier and more convenient, but no, I wanted to meet the guy my wife spends her nights with during her so-called work trips, in the same room and in the same bed," Larry replied, delivering a quick blow that caught Jake off guard. He paused and muttered, "Larry, it's not what you think. Don't be absurd. It's exactly what I think, and I've got evidence of it." "Evidence? Well, I'm just wondering how long this has been going on." "I can't say for sure. Maybe about 6 to 8 months. "I'd say it's been closer to 2 years. No, at first we were just talking, and nothing happened. But then, things changed. And then we started emailing each other all the time. It was through those emails that we had our regular dates." "Larry, she truly loves you. You know that, right?" "I loved her too. That's why going through a divorce is going to be tough for me." "Divorce? You're going to end your marriage over a little affair? That doesn't seem that serious. You don't have to take that step. So I should just accept being deceived and living a life of lies?" "I don't want to use harsh words, but her actions give me a reason to seek a divorce." "What will you do with the evidence you've collected? I don't want to use it against Angelina." "I'll just file for divorce and seek custody of the kids. I'm leaving now. Angelina is in a nearby town today and won't be back until tomorrow afternoon. You can tell her about our meeting then. You'll be the one to break the news about the divorce. Also, give her a copy of the court documents. Let her know that they haven't arrived yet, but they will. She can take her time. She no longer has a place to call home. When she returns to town tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, or 3 days from now, she's in for a big surprise. If you decide to warn Angelina right now, the second set of evidence regarding your unfaithfulness will immediately reach your wife. There will also be other consequences." Larry got up and walked out to the parking lot towards his car. Jake hesitated, utterly perplexed by Larry's actions. To make things more complicated, Jake and Angelina worked for different companies. Officially, they only crossed paths during production meetings and joint meetings. Angelina didn't hold a high-level management position, while Jake, a man of action, had climbed the corporate ladder quickly in a reputable company. Angelina worked as a simple engineer overseeing the work done by the company where Jake was the director. Jake felt like he was betraying Angelina. Yes, now he wasn't prepared to confront her husband, at least not enough to believe Larry's claim that he had some evidence of his wife's unfaithfulness. What if Larry was telling the truth? After pondering for a while, he made up his mind and called Angelina's number. After a few rings, there was no answer. Then he received a message saying that the caller was temporarily unavailable. Jake couldn't resist sending a text to Angelina. In the message, he urgently told her to get in touch with him, saying, "We have problems. Your husband knows everything." He realized that his marriage was in jeopardy, but he didn't trust Larry. He suspected that Larry might not have any substantial evidence. Larry was driving in his car when he heard the notification sound of a text message. It was on his wife's cell phone, which she had left at home. While driving, he pulled over, picked up the phone, read the message, and then called his friend using his own phone, saying, "Dima, you can complete the deal in the morning. Go ahead and buy the controlling stake." Got it. 20 minutes later, Larry's phone buzzed again with a notification of a text message. Glancing at it while on the move, the message read, "Package delivered." Half an hour later, his wife's cell phone rang. It had to be her, as Wendy had provided her phone number. Larry answered. "Wendy, I'm listening." "How do you know I'm Wendy? I'm the one who forwarded you the documents. You received them 20 minutes ago, and I was sure you'd want to reach out to my wife. Tell me, how long have you been aware of all this?" "I haven't known for very long, but I've had some time to prepare. It's unfortunate that this has come as a surprise to you, and I completely understand your emotional state. Tell me, are they together right now?" "No, she's planning to meet him tomorrow. They were originally scheduled to be on a business trip for 3 more days after their meeting." "Are you certain?" "I spoke with your husband about 40 minutes ago and informed him that Angelina can take her time since she no longer has a home, and he should be prepared for a divorce." "Do you believe that's a realistic possibility?" "I doubt it. She probably won't want a divorce, and she'll fight against it. But I've prepared a legal document, and my lawyer is ready to submit it. Your husband will hand it to her when they meet tomorrow." "And what about the kids?" "I've taken custody of my children, and they're already living elsewhere. I didn't want to disrupt your family, and I advised your husband not to reach out to my wife or contact her. But he didn't heed my advice, and that's why I sent you the legal documents. But there are more consequences in store for him. I can't express how challenging it would be for me to be without my husband's support." "I doubt that. From a financial standpoint, you're in a strong position. Everything your husband owns is registered under your name as a gift from your parents. You also have access to your husband's bank accounts. You can ethically withdraw 75% of it tomorrow morning, and I suggest you do it quickly." "But won't he object to that?" "Let him object. If he does, I'll arrange for a lawyer to support you." "Do I have to pay for the lawyer?" "The legal fees are already covered, but I won't get in the way of your decisions. You can talk it over with the attorney." Angelina was contemplating her upcoming meeting with Jake. Although she had completed her work during the business trip, she had informed her superiors that there was still a substantial workload and that it would take a few more days. In reality, she was preparing for a rendezvous with Jake and anticipated a pleasant evening ahead. Angelina felt content. She was relieved that she no longer carried guilt about her 2-year affair with Jake in front of her husband, Larry. Angelina's life was going exceptionally well. She took pride in her role as a wife and the mother of her smart and beautiful children. She enjoyed professional respect at her workplace and had a wonderful lover in Jake. However, Jake's existence remained a secret to everyone. Currently, Jake was staying in a nearby district center at a hotel where Angelina was due to arrive tomorrow. By then, Jake's colleagues who had accompanied him would have left. Leaving her home, Angelina had misplaced her phone so she could only reach Jake via email. Unfortunately, her laptop's battery had died completely. While she couldn't recall Jake's number, she did have her husband's number. She decided to call him from the hotel phone to check on the kids. Larry answered, saying, "Hello, it's Larry. I lost my phone somewhere." "You didn't lose it. You placed it in your purse, which was hanging in the hallway. You then left with a different purse. I warned you that collecting purses wouldn't lead to anything." "Did you search through my purse?" "Why would I do that? I called you just an hour ago to check on you, and the call came from your purse hanging in the hallway. I realized there was no point in calling you again." "Did anyone else try to reach me?" "I don't know. I was at work. Maybe someone did, but I didn't check. Where's the phone?" "It's in my purse. Should I retrieve it?" "No need to get it out. I'll manage without it for a while. How are the kids?" "The kids went to the neighbor's house to play a computer game." "Don't we have enough computers at home?" "It's some new game. A multiplayer one." "Is Masha also playing with them?" "I'll give you more details. Based on their conversations, it seems she's the one winning." "Shouldn't it be bedtime for them?" "Angelina, the kids are on holiday." "Oh, right. New Year's vacation is coming up soon. I'll have a lot of work, but the bonuses for completing projects will be good. You can take a trip with the kids if you'd like, but you should make up your mind now." "I'm not sure I understand. I have to work. Angelina, I actually earn twice as much as you do. I even offered you a higher paying job, but you declined." "But I've built a reputation here." "All right, I'll consider taking the kids on a New Year's vacation. But that's 2 months away, so we need to make all the decisions and plans well in advance. Angelina, that's exactly how I handle things, both in life and at work. Larry concluded the conversation. At this point, he had reached a junction in the road. This particular highway connected 2 regions. After checking the signs, he confidently chose the direction leading to the adjacent area where he currently resided with his children. He had relocated them within the first 2 days of Angelina's business trip. Surprisingly, she hadn't made an effort to contact them during that time. She was calling now, unaware that he had been the one to transfer her phone from one purse to another to facilitate the move. Larry had done thorough preparation work, obtaining the necessary paperwork for the kids from their school, so the school had no knowledge of their new location. They had enrolled in a rural school nearby. He had resigned from his previous job and promptly secured a position in his field at the neighboring regional center. 2 days after his wife left on a business trip, he relocated all of her belongings from the house that once belonged to her parents, but was now vacant. He took only the items he considered his own and transported them to his new residence. During the same time frame, he successfully sold his house, which had been his property prior to their marriage. When he returned, Angelina was in for a rather unpleasant surprise. However, a scheme had also been set for Jake. Larry orchestrated the demise of the company's founder, where Jake held the position of director, and his friend Dimitri took over as the owner. The first action Dimitri took was to replace the director. Angelina enjoyed a restful night's sleep in her hotel room. In the morning, she left her room, went downstairs to the hotel's restaurant, had a quick breakfast, collected her belongings from the hotel reception, and made her way to the bus station. There, she found a direct shuttle bus to her destination town. She comfortably dozed off in the bus, waking up briefly when the vehicle bumped over potholes along the way, just as she had planned. By the afternoon, she had arrived and walked to the hotel. She inquired about Jake's room, learned the room number, and was informed that he was currently at the restaurant. Angelina left her bags and outerwear in the restaurant's coat check area and entered the dining area. From a distance, she spotted Jake sitting alone at a table, picking at his salad. A carafe of vodka and a selection of appetizers were placed in front of him. I approached and greeted him, saying, "Hi, Jake." Jake looked up and questioned, "Angelina, are you being foolish? Didn't you understand the tone?" "Did you receive my text?" "I didn't receive anything. I left my phone at home, which is why I couldn't call you." "Your husband visited me yesterday." "He visited where?" "At my home. He's aware of everything about us, including the fact that we've been seeing each other for 2 years. Angelina emptied the entire decanter of vodka into a glass and downed it in a single gulp. Afterward, she exhaled and said, "What should we do?" "I'm not sure. He gave you a bag of documents. Where are they?" "They're in my room. I don't want to carry them with me." "You haven't read them?" "No, they're your documents, and it's your problem to deal with. I already have my own issues to contend with." "You didn't inquire from Larry about it?" "He mentioned it's a divorce complaint, stating that he's taking custody of the kids and claiming you won't have a place to live. I suppose it's all detailed in your paperwork. Do you have any more vodka? We can get some." "Is there vodka in the room?" "I'm checking out and heading home, so there's no vodka." "Did you say my documents are in there?" "They're with my belongings. We have a shuttle bus in an hour and a half, and I'll need to decide where to live." "Did he expose you to your wife?" "He cautioned me that if I revealed what was happening, he'd give the set of documents to my wife." "And what happened?" "Nothing. I sent you a text and tried to reach out to you, but it seems he had control over it. He promptly spilled the beans on me to my wife, but I doubt he did it. He and I had just split up. Today, around noon, my wife called me and informed me she wouldn't allow me back into the house. Then the new owner of our company contacted me and said I'd be terminated." "For what reason?" "For having an affair during a business trip." "But why would they care about your personal life?" "I wondered the same thing. But they pointed out the 2-room suite I stayed in alone, paid for by the company. They also mentioned how my business trips were extended by 3 days even though there was no work scheduled during those days. They even claimed that some of the business trips were fabricated. In summary, I violated company rules. Your husband cost me my job and my family. What did I lose?" "Your husband mentioned that everything is in the documents." "Why don't we grab a drink and head back to the room? I'll take a look at the papers. Sounds good. But there's no vodka left at the coat check. Angelina collected her outerwear and belongings, and they went up to the room. Jake handed the papers to Angelina, who sat down at the table to examine them, unable to tear herself away. She said, "Jake, he wants to take my kids away from me, and he sold his house. I have nowhere to live." "Where are your belongings?" "He moved my things to the house where my parents used to live. Now they've relocated to the city into an apartment, leaving the house vacant. It's payback for my 2 years of infidelity. What's your suggestion?" "We need to intervene, or we can try to intervene. I'm the only one who fully understands Larry's plan." "All right, I'll go." "Go where? You haven't finished reading all the documents yet. You've only looked at the divorce complaint. There's also a letter from him in there. Here's what I'll do. I'll give him a call." Angelina dialed Larry's cell phone number from the hotel phone and was surprised when he answered. "Hello? Larry, I know you're upset with me, but what does Jake have to do with all of this? Why are you jeopardizing his family and career?" "If you don't understand, I'll make it clear. Your relationship with Jake was completely inappropriate." "I'm not sure what to say." "Inappropriate?" "Larry, Jake is our client. I oversee their work. We interact with him a lot on the job, and from what I gather, it's not just business. I know you're aware of it, but we should have handled it privately. I warned him yesterday not to attempt to contact you. The first thing he did was call you and then send you a text. So I intervened in his life just as I promised. He'll have to face the consequences himself." "All right, I have to go because I have another meeting. Let's talk tonight and put this behind us. We can start anew." "Look, I love you. I'll be back in town soon." "The business trip is ending so soon?" "I've made up my mind that I won't be going on any more business trips like this." "Angelina, you've already seen my divorce complaint. What are your thoughts on it?" "I won't agree to a divorce, and I'm not giving up custody of the kids." "The kids are old enough to decide which parent they want to live with. As for the divorce, I'm not rushing into it, although you never know, I'm still relatively young." "That's not a solution. Perhaps we'll reconcile after all." "Perhaps." Larry ended the conversation. Jake, who had been listening, suggested to Angelina, "Let's head to the bus station. There's a shuttle bus leaving from this hotel. We won't find any solutions here. Besides, you mentioned you have a place where your belongings are stored." "Actually, it's my grandmother's house. She left it to me, but it's not heated. I don't have much choice. I need a place to live. Please talk to my wife. She doesn't want any contact from me. Plus, the house is in her name, a gift from her parents." They departed from the hotel and headed to the bus station where they boarded a minibus bound for their hometown. The journey took approximately 2 hours and they rode in silence as there wasn't much to discuss. Upon arrival, they took a taxi to Angelina's house. She left her suitcase there and continued to her home in the same cab. As she approached, she noticed that someone was inside. She entered the yard and knocked on the door. A woman answered and inquired, "Who are you looking for?" "I'd like to speak with the owner." The woman called out, "Victor, someone is here to see you." "Victor, where's Larry?" "Larry? There's no Larry here. Victor can provide more details." A man named Victor approached and introduced himself. "I'm Victor. What can I help you with?" "I'm looking for Larry. Larry was the previous owner. I purchased this house from him and my wife, kids, and I moved in yesterday." "Where's Larry?" "I don't have that information. The house was vacant when we moved in." "Did you update the paperwork?" "Yeah, definitely. About a week ago, right after his wife was released from the hospital." "Where did she relocate to?" "I'm not sure. According to the house records, she moved in with either her grandmother or her parents. But I didn't verify." "Where did he move to?" "He left it blank in the address field." Angelina came to the realization that Larry had been planning his departure for quite some time. She left the house, surveyed the snowy yard, and cried profusely for the first time in a while. Angelina walked to the bus stop and waited for the shuttle bus to the shopping mall. From there, she proceeded to her new residence, the house she had inherited from her grandmother. During her absence, Jake had arranged for heating in the house and informed her, "Your grandparents were wise. You could have filled the house with gas, but that's not an option now because the heating system has no water." "So what did you do? Add water?" "No, I filled the stove. Didn't you see the smoke from the chimney?" Have you spoken to your wife? I called, but she refuses to talk to me. I reached out to my friends, but word of my termination spread quickly, and it seems no one wants to be involved. Some were busy, others had their own things going on, and a few didn't even answer the phone. Sadly, I learned today that I have no real friends. What do you plan to do? Find a job. And what about you? I'm going to call my husband. I'll visit his workplace tomorrow. He's a workaholic and can't go without it. Meanwhile, you go ahead and prepare some food. I brought groceries, and could you lend me your cell phone? Where's yours? I'm not sure. I think Larry has it. Jake grabbed the grocery bag and hauled it into the kitchen. Got it. We should at least gather your belongings in one room. We can't just barge in. How are we going to sleep? Let's prepare dinner first. I'll try calling my husband. If he picks up, and if he doesn't, then I'll help with dinner. What should I cook? Jake grabbed the grocery bag and hauled it into the kitchen. Got it. We should at least gather your belongings in one room. We can't just barge in. How are we going to sleep? Let's prepare dinner first. I'll try calling my husband. If he picks up, the pasta and the pork, marinate and fry the pork, season it. That's basically making pork chops. That's right. What do you think I'm going to pair with my vodka? I might have work tomorrow unless my husband fired me. Tomorrow is Saturday and your company is closed. Well, I've lost track of the days. Hand me the phone. Jake handed Angelina the phone. She dialed her husband's number and heard Jake. I'm here. No, it's Angelina. I don't have my phone. I forgot it. My lawyer will return it to you. He's coming by after the weekend. Why does he have it? Because I gave it to him. He's coming after the weekend with a proposal. What kind of proposal? If you've seen the divorce complaint, I'm not asking for child support. But if you'd like, you can make voluntary contributions. There are various options in my proposal. When our kids turned 14, and you might recall, we signed an agreement for them to open bank accounts. Yes, we did. I've deposited initial amounts into those accounts. The only catch is that they have control over their accounts. I want them to have savings for things like weddings or education. How do you suggest we do that? I've created another account and transfer money there for their future. For how long? For quite a while. I've committed to never touching that money. Anyway, the lawyer will explain everything if you want to be involved. Well, I think we're done here. You've given me less than a minute after all these years together. Tell me, do you comprehend how much humiliation Jake endured? Do you realize he lost his job and family because of you? How could you do this to me after all these joyful years together? I have one more question. How could you do this to me? To our family? Larry, you need to forgive me. I'm in desperate need of your help, and the kids need you too. Believe it or not, Angelina, I've been having the same thoughts. I've long realized there's not much you can say to change things. But Larry, consider our family. It's on the verge of falling apart. Don't tell me I'm solely responsible for it. You should have thought about this before you began your affair with Jake. You forgot about me and the kids. Right now, I'm trying to rebuild my life. To be honest, I'm disappointed in you. However, I do want to see my children. If you can somehow find it in yourself to forgive me, I'd like to try and salvage our marriage. Give me a chance to make amends. Please, Angelina, it's not a good time to see the kids right now. We can plan ahead, and I'll figure out how to arrange it. I'll be honest, they don't want to see you. As for saving our marriage, that ship has sailed and it's not returning. I have no intention of staying married to you. Why won't you even consider it? Surprisingly, I'm not upset today. I don't feel sad about what happened. I thought I'd be miserable or lonely, but I'm not. I feel relieved. I'm content with my actions. I do regret losing you a bit, but you made your choices. I didn't expect it to come to this, though. You betrayed me and our marriage without hesitation. You told me you were going on a business trip, leaving me and our kids to see Jake. Actions have consequences, and they've cost you your children, your marriage, and your home. If the court orders me to allow you to visit them, I'll comply. But the real question is, will the children even want to spend time with you? I've also taken action against your lover, and it's up to his wife to decide his fate. What will he choose? I don't know, but he's certainly lost his job. So are you pleased with yourself for tarnishing us? I can tell you that I don't regret any of my actions to get back at you for wrecking my family. I won't stop until your lover's life is in ruins. He shouldn't have deceived me when I warned him about this. I feel sorry for his wife for being married to a cheater who destroyed our marriage." That marked the end of it. I drove back home. Larry wrapped up the call he was having in the car, exited the vehicle, opened the gate, and drove into the yard. The house he had acquired wasn't too far from the city center. It had a grand and luxurious appearance, but he managed to purchase it at a bargain price. The previous owner, who had recently constructed it, was in a hurry to relocate permanently abroad, leaving no room for negotiation. Before making the purchase, Larry consulted with an old acquaintance living in the same city, who had strong connections. He received a positive recommendation for buying the house. It was conveniently located close to the city center, various shops, and a school. The university was also within walking distance. Most importantly, the children liked the house. Over the past 3 days, they had been working together to make improvements. They arranged the furniture they had brought from their previous residence. Masha's daughter took on the role of the cook, claiming that everything you need to know can be found on the internet, including cooking instructions. However, they needed to unpack the kitchen appliances first, or they'd end up ordering pizza again. So, they began searching for drawers with utensils. These drawers were labeled. "I really have a craving for meatballs. Daughter, can you handle that? I'll give it a try if we have the right ingredients." "Like what?" "Like meat." And so they started settling into their new home. Larry and Angelina divorced 8 months later. Despite Angelina's hopes, Larry never appeared in court. He didn't respond to calls on his cell phone, and neither did the children. Angelina lived alone in her house. She kept her job but refrained from traveling. Jake found a place to live and moved in, hoping to rebuild his relationship with his wife. However, things didn't work out for them there either, particularly because his wife had found a job and was being pursued by an unmarried colleague from her studies. He wasn't afraid of having children. Angelina dedicated all her free time to searching for Larry and the children, but her efforts were in vain. She went to the police, but that didn't yield any results either. Turning to a private investigator, she found herself disappointed again after a month when he admitted failure and declined to continue the search, asserting, "I'm convinced Larry and the children are out of town. Pinpointing their location is quite challenging." We had a meeting with Ben's group, so we waited for him. "All right, young folks, go wash your hands and come to the table. Volodya, aren't you going anywhere today?" "No, I'm not. I'll open a bottle of wine." When the children entered, Angelina was overcome with emotion. She remained seated in her chair, unable to move. Masha noticed and said, "Daddy, why didn't you tell us we had guests? Hello, Mom. Hello, daughter. Hello, son." Upon saying this, Angelina started to cry. Larry tried to comfort her, saying, "Angelina, it's okay. Let's sit at the table." They all took their seats at the beautifully arranged table. Sabrina handed Larry a bottle of wine and a corkscrew. Masha then regained her composure and turned to Angelina, saying, "Mom, meet my fiancé, Pavel. We're studying together at the university." "Pleased to meet you. I'm Masha's first. Mom. So, let's raise a toast to meeting and getting to know each other. Larry, you just want to drink. Let's talk. Sabrina, let's have a drink, some appetizers, and then we'll talk. I'm starving. And we have a lot to discuss, including the wedding. What about the wedding? Don't talk." Dirty. Drinks and appetizers. Everyone sipped their drinks and began eating in silence. Each person had a hearty oven-baked chicken thigh and a side of fried potatoes. The table was adorned with various sauces, salads, smoked salmon, cheese tartlets, and assorted appetizers. Eventually, everyone had their fill. Sabrina brought out dessert and cleared away the extra plates and utensils. Once the meal concluded, Angelina and Masha headed to Masha's room. Ben remained with his father and Pavel to discuss wedding plans. An hour later, Angelina and Masha returned to the main hall. Masha told Pavel, "Get ready. Let's head home." Sabrina bustled about and entered the kitchen. She soon emerged with separate bags containing chicken thighs and a tray of fried potatoes. She said, "Masha, this is for you and Pavel for dinner, and there's enough for breakfast too. I'll be waiting for you to return for lunch. I'll make some cutlets." "Oh, Mom, that's a lot of work." "It's fine. I'm on vacation anyway." Angelina turned to Ben. "So, son, tell me, how have you been?" "Not bad. I've been busy. I went to school first, and now I'm in university. I actually wanted to start working, but Dad and Mom, Sabrina, didn't allow it. They said they could still support me and Masha. Why didn't you call me? What do you think? No, Dad didn't forbid it, but it was hard for me to justify what you did. He told us everything. He had to explain why you weren't living with us. So, he told us everything. I know. If he had the option not to, he wouldn't have told us anything. It was tough for him, especially at first. Masha and I helped with cooking and cleaning, but all he wanted was for us to focus on our studies. And that's what we did. Didn't they ask you about your mother at school? They did. We told them you didn't live with us, and Daddy took care of everything. We only attended school here. I was there for 3 years, and Masha was there for 2. She started university a year before me. She's going to specialize in the light industry. And you? I decided to study software engineering following Dad's advice. Right now, I'm studying math. Like 1 plus 1? 1 plus 1 is basic arithmetic. And arithmetic is a branch of math that deals with numbers, their relationships, and properties. What do you plan to become? I told you, a computer programmer. Dad got me a fancy computer for that. And I write programs. You might need one someday. I'm heading back to my room. I have some urgent internet tasks to take care of, Angelina declared. About the honey, she mentioned. Larry brought this back from his business trip. He was overseeing a construction project in the Far East and brought back buckwheat honey from there. Angelina inquired, Weren't you worried about him traveling so far? Sabrina replied, No, not worried at all. I trust him, and he trusts me. Without trust, there's no family. And the kids supported us. It's just a pity we don't have children together, but it's too late to change that. But you're much younger than I am. Angelina mentioned, Unfortunately, I never got to experience motherhood. I told Larry that right from the start. Sabrina asked, And how did he react? Angelina explained, He said I already have kids and they live with me. I was quite nervous when I first met them, but they accepted me right away. Sabrina inquired, How long have you two been together? Angelina replied, Quite a while, almost 3 years. We got married about a year ago. It wasn't a grand wedding, more like a practical arrangement, but we did go on a honeymoon. Sabrina asked, Where did you go, if you don't mind me asking? Angelina shared, We went to Spain, specifically Tenerife. The kids came along with us. We spent 2 weeks there, then traveled to Monaco, and from there to Milan and Venice. Currently, as a gift for our daughter, we're considering sending her and her husband on a honeymoon to Rome, but that's planned for after they finish their studies. Larry doesn't want them to drop out of school. Sabrina inquired, What are you planning to gift them for their wedding? Angelina explained, We've known about their relationship for a while. We have the financial means, and Larry bought a house on the outskirts in an up-and-coming neighborhood. He had it demolished, and now they're completing a beautiful cottage there. Larry designed it himself. Right now, there's a crew working on site, clearing out the construction debris from the cottage and the yard. Tomorrow afternoon, we'll go there with Larry and Ben to help with the cleanup. Sabrina asked, You're going to clean it all up? Are you planning to furnish it as well? Angelina responded, Only the kitchen and bedroom are furnished. The rest of the furniture will be purchased by the young couple themselves. Angelina then inquired, What should I get them as a gift? I have some money saved up, a decent amount. Sabrina commented, That's all right. They'll probably use it to buy a car for commuting to the university, even though there's a shuttle bus every half an hour. Angelina offered, Can I help with the cleaning? Sabrina responded, Of course, you're welcome to. I'll find you some work clothes. Angelina then inquired, Sabrina, where do you work? Sabrina answered, I work in the administration where we issue building permits. That's where I met Larry. Larry entered the kitchen and asked, How's everything going in here? Sabrina replied, All good. Angelina was just wondering what to gift the young couple. Angelina reassured, Larry, it's nothing. We're actually giving them a house that's under Masha's name. And it's not just from Sabrina and me. It's a gift from all of us, Larry explained. I provided the funds, and I'd appreciate your input. Sabrina added, Larry, it's perfectly fine. Angelina wants to join us tomorrow. I thought she might be going directly to the young couple's house, but I don't mind. It'll make things quicker. The wedding concluded, and Angelina returned home, shedding many tears throughout the event. Her children had grown older and had developed a strong bond with Sabrina, sharing their secrets with her. Angelina learned from Sabrina that her son Ben had brought his girlfriend to her daughter's wedding, and there was speculation that he might propose to her there. After Angelina left home, her children occasionally reached out by phone to check in and say hello, letting her know they were doing well and cared about her. However, they didn't actively seek face-to-face meetings. Larry was thriving in his life, but the children didn't provide many details about him, only sharing generalities. Angelina kept tabs on the local news as much as she could and knew that the organization where Larry worked was prospering. There wasn't much information about Larry's personal life in the news. Then, they reunited at Ben's son's wedding. Larry looked great, and it was evident that Sabrina was taking good care of him. Once again, Angelina deeply regretted her past actions and how she had betrayed him.
Alright, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick? Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. I will do my best. Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. Did you not hear what I said? I'm sorry. I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit anytime," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look, "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day." Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. "So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. "Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them." It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. "Still here?" Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. "I'm leaving." I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. "Nick! What's wrong?" Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick and he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was, as the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their in. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong. Mike! What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. I didn't do anything wrong. You're still saying that? Look at him. Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract? Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go. Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him. There's no way he was pushed aside. Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he? I don't remember that part. I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you've failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.